Flying solo without the team today, but I do have the amazing Jodi to keep me company. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Now, it's great to have you here. So, I wanted to have you on this podcast to chat to you about your journey through coaching and through CrossFit, and also through your amazing initiative that you started, which is Fit2Lead, which we
Yes.
will dig into that, which is some, amazing opportunities. So, maybe to kick off, let's dig into a little bit about your journey into the CrossFit landscape and also into coaching, like how that evolved for you.
Right. So CrossFit, I think I got interested in it in 2012, so kind of a long time ago. And then had a kind of on again, off again, it's complicated relationship with CrossFit.
I think we've
Um,
all had that.
yes, mostly because of just being married to an active duty service member and getting moved around. Um, and then again, I took a job when we got back here. We got plugged into a gym, and then I took a job with an hour commute without traffic, one way. And
Yeah.
so it's awful. And I got pregnant during that time. And so, yeah, that definitely, it fell by the wayside. And then, uh, postpartum, I just wasn't doing well. I had a really difficult postpartum journey, and found a CrossFit gym very close to home and started there. And, I really credit actually that gym and that community for pulling me out of like some of the darkest times of my
Mm.
life. So, really got into CrossFit there. Just, I'm not going to the games, probably not even going to RX the local competition, but I really believe in fitness and health and what it can do,
Mm.
not just physically, but the
The mental
relational piece
side.
of it.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and then one of the coaches was leaving to go to a gym closer to her home. And I talked to the owners and was like, hey, I've been thinking about this and haven't had the courage to talk about it because it seemed like you had enough coaches.
Mm. Now
And
there's an
then,
opening.
and then that was it. I went to a class the next weekend and started.
Wow. Away you go. And
There we
isn't it funny how that sometimes the universe can land things in our lap when it comes to our coaching journey. I mean, I remember I was never had any intention of being coached because I was like, well, I'm just a little fat kid in the back of the class. I can't do all the movements. Like, I want to do my level 1 to learn. And then the box where I was at, the owner said, hey, I need a new coach and I want it to be you. Are you planning to do your level 1? And I was like, no, but I will now, and run off, borrow mum's credit card, sign up for the course, and away we
Yeah,
go. And, I think that we just get put where we're meant to be, when we need to be there at that time.
I
So,
agree.
yeah. And we've had uh Pat Barber on the podcast a couple of times, and he talks about creating your own opportunities as a coach. It's like he's made a career basically of either creating his own opportunity or, making the best of an opportunity that presented itself. So really, that's what you did. You created your own opportunity by going, hey, this is something I'm interested in. Whereas a lot of people would be similar to how you felt prior. They just sit in class and go, oh, I'd like to, but I'm not going to. Who am I to be a coach? And we
Right.
get that imposter syndrome flooding over us. So how was that experience for you when you did the level 1 and we've got all this amazing stuff in our head and we're like, yeah, I'm going to go make humans better everywhere. And then jump into the class, and start coaching. How was that, transition?
Um, I think I struggled with everything, all the things that novice coaches struggle with. Given my background in the military and as a teacher, like the class management, organization, and planning and timeline, I was okay
Mhm.
with that. But I would say that like there was a lot of over coaching.
Yeah, it's funny.
And
I
yeah, a
came back
lot
from
more
my level 1.
teaching.
Yeah, there's a lot. I remember I came back from my level 1, and for the next week, everyone was air squatting. Like I could teach an air squat. I thought I was like Jesus to movement. So
Right. And it's funny because it doesn't I guess it does come from a place of pride if you really think about it, but you care so much, you just don't wanna get it wrong, so then
Mm,
you do too much, and that's not helpful.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's funny, I've just jumped off another call where we were chatting on the Fit2Lead podcast to Nathan Bird, or Birdie, from Bird Box Coaching, and he talked a lot about the just filling the space with words because you want to get it right, but sometimes there's power in that. When you're actually coaching, it's power in using silence to be able
yeah,
to make your point and see what's really going on. Take that moment, not going, oh, I know the answer, I'm going to give it all to you right now.
right.
Yeah, and keeping it
It's
simple.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard because sometimes you just want to like give the advice because you can like see what's going on, but it's a lot more effective to ask a question,
Hmm.
um, and have them come to their own conclusions. And it asking also allows you to see their mindset and where their priority is. And you have to be okay with like letting the members, you ask them a question, well, how'd that feel? Whatever. And they're like, I think I was in my toes, And so they
Mm,
try to make their own correction. And they're like, that didn't work either. And it's just kind of good to let them,
mm.
I don't know, be a little more independent too and just guide them.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
but
you
it's
know,
hard.
oh, absolutely. I mean, we've all had experiences if you've coached for more than 10 minutes where you've constantly been telling someone something that they're doing and they need to do, and then one day they come to you with this epiphany on, I read this thing online. I think I just need to open my hips faster. And you're like, really? That's
Thank
2 years of me telling you that. Thank you for, but because it's now their idea, it's a really powerful shift for them. So that's
Yes.
where and being part of the Fit Affiliate tribe, that um, you know, we don't do telling here because it's not very effective. If we tell you guys as our clients what to do, you're not as invested in it. Whereas if it's your idea, it's like, I'm going to run with this and this is the hill I'm going to die on, kind of thing. So
Right.
it applies just as equally as coaching on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah. You
Absolutely.
you can tell members everything till you're blue in the face, but until it's on them, yeah. And I think it builds the power of that relationship as well, is like that it's okay to have the freedom to explore what they think is happening and going, okay, what do you think that it is that? And what does that feel like for you? And gives the member some empowerment and some confidence as well, that, I just turn up and do what I'm told, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need that too. So that's
Mm,
like the important part of knowing that relationship when they don't want to think
mm.
and they
Yeah.
just want to do. Yeah.
And again, but that's pure coaching, isn't it? Understanding what the member needs at the time.
Yeah.
So, you've embarked on this amazing journey of coaching and, something that, you're clearly passionate about. Um, Tell me a little bit, or tell us, because I know a little bit, but tell, our listener base and our viewers about Fit2Lead and how that evolved for you, and what you think about as an expression of your coaching.
Yeah, this is fun. Tony's going to enjoy this because this is the part where like I get stuck, as you and I have
Mhm.
explained. So I will make this as succinct and packaged as possible. So my husband and I, Sam, not your Sam, my Sam, have always like toyed with the idea of owning our own business.
Mhm.
And so just talked about it. And I don't know why. I mean, for the 10 years that we've been married, we've talked about it. So time goes on, and I went on a yoga retreat, and I was like, this is great. And I don't want to sit around in drum circles. I want to go hiking and like move my body and lift some weights and maybe also do a little yoga, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like maybe CrossFitters and other fitness people might enjoy that. And so I just kind of thought on that. And then I was thinking about my army experience and my experience as a teacher and like what I brought to the table with that and what my strengths were. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this together. I'm going to do fitness retreats as like team development because nobody wants to sit around in the gym looking at the equipment and their laundry list of things to do while they're trying to do development. Like, let's go relax and take a load off and bond as a team in some of the most gorgeous locations in the United States. And yeah, so that's kind of where it came from. And then I emailed Chuck.
So you emailed Chuck. What was that? Where was that what was the objective, I guess, of reaching out?
To see, because I had no business acumen. Like, I wouldn't even know what to do. And so I reached out, saying, I know you normally work with affiliates, having no idea that they had worked with startups ever, and was like, can you help me? And so we just kind of went back and forth, and he asked me all these hard questions. What's your mission statement? What's your elevator pitch? What's this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know any of it.
Well, it doesn't matter if you are in the affiliate landscape or not. Those questions are just as hard the first time you reach out. I remember when I reached out, it was, all of this stuff, and I went, wow, I thought I had some stuff, but I don't exactly know. Or I'd write a 2-liner thing, and I remember that Chuck and Tony would both come back and go, yeah, but dig deeper. And it was like, that's about it. That's where I'm at.
Right. Yes.
This is awkward.
They're like, why? I'm like, I just told you why. I don't know what else to say. Yeah.
But then that's the power of the coaching relationship, and they will just sit and hold space for you to stumble around to getting to the realization. And then you're like, oh, that's what you're waiting for.
Yes.
And it's true. At Fit2Lead, we have worked with, coaching businesses or, coaching centered businesses that are supporting the affiliate ecosystem. It's not, that we're supporting dentists or whatever it happens to be, but, there's a lot of power in helping the ecosystem to grow and flourish, which is, we want to protect the affiliates and protect the affiliate landscape. And if there are businesses and enterprises that can support that, then, we definitely, want to give them a space, because there's really no space that your business would typically fall into if you went through other services. They're just for affiliate owners.
Right.
And their templates and their systems and processes about affiliates. So if you were to get some of those, you would have to slice, dice, and modify quite a lot. And as you said, you came into it with a limited skill set and awareness of what was involved. So it would have been quite an onerous, messy task, and probably could have led you to be quite frustrated about, well, I really don't know anything about anything now, and maybe given up on the path.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And when you're embarking on a new journey, you come to enough points where you're like, man, I just could like fold this whole thing up right now, because it's hard. And so having like, trying to walk into something that's like pre-made, you're right, probably would have just frustrated me even more, and probably not have ended in a good result.
Yeah. And deflated. Like you already at the start, when you're asked, all of these things, and you're like, oh, I don't know what these things are. But when someone's holding the space for you to work through that, it's very different to, well, I can't answer your question. It's like, well, we can't help you because you need this as like a minimum criteria kind of thing. And if you don't have it, we'll just give you one, which might not align with, your values and what it is you're trying to achieve. So here on the $1 Million Coach podcast, we're very focused on helping coaches create a sustainable lifestyle through coaching.
Yeah.
And, you're coaching at the affiliate, but you're also, providing this additional service, which is about, helping affiliates and teams bond together so that they can perform better together.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the power of those moments that you've experienced when you've had a team out and taken them through that, almost out of box experience where they're not distracted, and this is our purpose. This is what we're here for. And, what's the power in that?
I think the power in that, really comes from removing as many external stressors as possible. So not having to think about meals or the programming or fixing the hole in the wall because someone dropped the barbell and it bounced over, right? Like nothing, just taking that away so that their focus is on themselves and each other. It really allows them to, it's like being in an all-inclusive resort. You just are present and you get to be present with each other. It removing that stress allows people to be more vulnerable and more open to meaningful conversations because you've taken the stress off. And so they feel like there's space for them to be honest, open, vulnerable. And it allows people to get on the same page and get creative. So we're outside, we're moving our bodies. We're in some of just the mountain, the Rocky. I mean, I can go anywhere. But of course I'm biased to the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. So
why wouldn't you be?
Oh, this is so gorgeous. But just being outside, I mean, there's plenty of science to prove that being outside and moving your bodies, both of those things, inspire creativity. And so now you have teams and leaders like coming up with these great ideas to further themselves, their income, their business, and it just gets them on the same page. I don't know. I don't think I answered your question, but
no, I think you did. So how do you facilitate that process as like, hey, Jodi, I've got a team. We got to, we need to come together and we want to, move forward as a team. Like how do you facilitate that process through, the weekend retreat?
You don't mean like, how do I set it up and like book it? You mean, how is it facilitated? Like in the execution? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, so it's very laid back. So if anybody's done diesel days or it's like the opposite. I mean, we still are going to fitness pretty hard. Like I've got some pretty good workouts for you. So it kind of depends on what the team. So if the owner wants to do some really targeted team development, we're going to do some seminars over some skills that maybe he or she is looking at. And we'll do that very casually over a meal or sitting around a fire. So it's very relaxed in nature. And part of that is intentional because I want the coaches and the owners to see that it doesn't have to be so stiff and like feel so official. Like some of our best ideas and our best growth comes from when we're relaxed and just having conversations. And so when I say seminar, we're literally sitting around the fire. We probably were just talking about the CrossFit shoes we just bought and like our favorite WODs. I don't know. So, and then it's going to go into just casual conversation. But it's really just facilitated through community and just spending time together and doing activities together, whether we're paddleboarding or whitewater rafting, doing a team workout.
Yeah. So, I guess it's not a one size fits all template, as in if I have a team, I'm going to come, here's what's going to happen on the weekend versus, what do you need? What do you want to get out of this for you and your team?
Yes. Thank you. It is 100% custom. So thanks, Lisa. Yeah. No, I can't, how can it be one size fits all? That's like, I really want to sit in on some of these corporate team development because there are principles that apply, like communication and, brainstorming sessions, things like that apply to all teams. But every team is unique because every business is unique. And then there's another layer of complexity because every individual on that team is unique with different styles and needs and gifts and talents. And so you can't really, I don't know. I don't think I can make a system that's
help. And you're absolutely right. And that's the beauty in it that, you've often said that you have trouble, like communicating that like succinctly.
Yes, it's so hard.
I think we're on a call tomorrow where you're going to be doing that, but it's, it is about, Fit2Lead. We often talk about that, we're in a field of one. We're the only people out here coaching, but it's because coaching is such a thrown around word, like every man and their parrot is a coach, it kind of makes it a little more commoditized and harder to differentiate the difference, which is, Tony's passion project is to help the world understand the difference between coaching and training.
Yeah.
So when you're in a unique, not one size fits all template, it can be very hard to communicate that and to show people that it's, well, what do you do? Well, what do you need?
Right.
Yeah, like
yeah, and that's what's hard. And I want to say to everybody out there who's like, all the coaches that are like, I think I can start this business, just do it. Let me just pause right here. This whole part about me having a hard time communicating it, I'll figure it out eventually. And I'm not like, that's one thing I'm giving myself grace on is just because you don't say it exactly right or it takes you too long doesn't mean you've messed anything up. So just do it. Go for it.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's, and we will always say, and I know we only just had this conversation on the Fit2Lead on the MDCP podcast yesterday, talking about, don't let perfect get in the way of action.
Yes.
It's just send it. Something is out there is better than, something that you're crafting and curating and to get perfect. And that's probably the thing that won't land. We spoke about, you'll put a piece of content out there that you've kind of just slapped together and it, goes nuts. But then you'll put this carefully curated, rehearsed piece there and it's like nobody watches. The algorithm doesn't like that. It's like the algorithm almost teaches us that imperfect's the way to go, like be authentic rather than, hi, I'm Lisa, buy my program. It doesn't like that sort of stuff. So through this journey, as you've been, working with clients and decided that this was an important area or maybe a gap in the market when you identified it. When you're looking at the affiliate landscape and developing and growing coaching teams, because to be honest, like when I approached Fit2Lead, it was about how do I get my coaches to engage? How do I get them to do the things I want them and to understand like why I'm doing what I do? What do you think is like one of the core struggles for, stopping teams moving forward as one?
So from my personal experience, I think one of the biggest hangups that we have in any organization is the idea of empowering the people on our team, trusting them to be decision makers, and empowering them to drive your vision forward in ways that align with their talents and abilities. So when we have something that we love and a mission or vision we're trying to accomplish, we want to hold it tight and control how it's executed. But I don't know about you, but I'm not very smart or very creative. And so you've got it, not by myself, you've got to lean into team and trust them and know and it's not always going to work out, but what could they possibly do that's going to be so bad, unless they, set your gym on fire, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest thing is just having that trust, letting go of control and really communicating with them through words and action, empowering them as that you trust them and empower them as decision makers and leaders in your community.
And I think some of that, like speaking from my experience in my early days, I guess, as an affiliate owner, it's that having that scarcity mindset. And we talk about a lot on this podcast and the Fit2Lead podcast about like, I need to keep everything to me. Otherwise they're going to take it and go and do their own thing. Well, firstly, if we want to fulfill CrossFit's mission of, 30 million people doing CrossFit, we do need a lot more affiliates. We need a lot more coaches. But secondly, in my experience, once your coaches start to see behind the curtain a bit, they're like, oh, hell no, I don't want to. Coach Maths told me that I could, be driving in a Lamborghini, not, dealing with complaints about toilet paper ply. Like that's the, and that if you can, if no one tells you those things, but if you can share with your team and be vulnerable and be okay with holding, creating that space, holding it for them and, having that that conversation and that shared awareness, they are so much more empowered and take so much more ownership that it can only help things grow and flourish, even if it is a bit bumpy at the start. And we're all like trying to figure out how to do this. And it's very hard to let things go. I am the worst for letting things go when I own my affiliate. It was, you'd let something go and then you're still like watching and check. It's like, no, let it go.
Yeah.
Just once it's gone, you don't touch it anymore unless it breaks.
You know, I want to back up to about when I said about empowering to your vision.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that that's the other breakdown is a lot of owners or leaders in general do not well communicate their vision and direction for the gym. Even if it's that I just want to stay as is and sustain right now, like even if that's where they're at, that's something that I think could be clearly communicated because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Most people really want to just like be really great change makers. And so anyway, sorry, I wanted to say that.
No, that's great. That's very, no, that's really important. So
yeah,
you've embarked on this endeavor and you're in a field of one, pretty much doing these things.
Yeah.
You've very early on, reached out about coaching and support and having that. How have you found that as, Tony often talks about the foundation of Fit2Lead was in, understanding that owning an affiliate, for an example, is the loneliest seat in the world at times. You can have 100 people around you, but you're still alone. Like I built a tribe at my affiliate, but then on reflection, I was always just outside the tribe because, I was at the top. And even though I was part of it, you weren't, and you can't go out on the floor and say to your members, well, life sucks. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. And he wanted to create a space so that affiliate owners didn't feel that anymore. Now, you're not an affiliate owner, and that's okay, but you created this thing, you're in a field of one. That's got to be pretty isolating.
It is. What's funny is that's the part that's been really hard for me. And Tony's like, why aren't you just doing the thing? And I'm like, because I don't have a team to do the thing with. And he's like, oh my gosh, Jodi. But he's right. It's like I'm waiting for the team that isn't going to come unless I do the thing to generate, the revenue to have the team. So, but in my experience up to this point, I've had tons of leadership experience. And even though it's very lonely, I always had lateral leaders that we would kind of get together and commiserate and talk through things. And so it has been pretty lonely. And that's as Tony said on my call last week, that's my nemesis. Like being a solo entrepreneur, sole proprietor is really the thing that I need to work through and what I can do because I'm wildly out of my comfort zone. And so what I have found, I did a health and fitness expo and I actually connected with a lot of the other entrepreneurs there, very similar stories to mine. And that was really helpful. I think just finding your community and finding your people that are on a similar journey that you can like talk to and learn from is really important. But you have to put yourself out there. You can't just sit
and wait for it to come to you.
Right. No, you have to you have to take the steps. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we had E.C. Sinkowski on this podcast a little while ago now, and she was talking about, if we talk about Instagram, for example, it's like we're all at a rock concert, but we're all yelling. So it's very hard to get your voice heard, your message across to someone, who probably needs to hear it over the other side of the room, but everybody's yelling. So it's, how do you break through that noise to go, hey, I'm only, I'm small, I'm niche, but I'm over here and I've got something that you need. Yeah. How have you kind of wrangled that concept of being able to tell your story and get your message out there? Because, in $1 Million Coach, we talk about positioning and packaging and, leveraging tools to tell our stories. So talk a little bit about your journey through that.
So full disclosure, I'm still working on positioning and packaging. As you know, I have homework for tomorrow. And that's okay. I still have tried. So my primary way of like doing this is not going to be appealing to most people, but I've literally just walked into affiliates and talked to coaches, owners, managers. Sometimes I stay to drop in with them. And then what's really funny is I like try to buy a t-shirt or like drop it, like give them like, because I'm asking for their time to talk to them. So I try to at least give them some kind of value in that moment. Right.
Yep.
So it also lends to credibility when you're going to drop in and interact with their people. But that's kind of what I've done, is just dropped in and talk to people.
And, you know, that's a really good approach as well. Like for, you know, clearly you're not looking to have, you know, 60,000 clients and, you know, all 13,000 affiliates working with you, but, you know, having that personal connection, because your retreats are very much about personal connection. So what better way to see the power of that than you creating it, which I think is phenomenal.
And, you know, it's interesting you say that, because that really is what it's about, relationship. And that is both, I've discovered, both like a selling point and also like what makes people put the brakes on, because they can they can early on see that it's going to require a level of vulnerability and trust. And so it takes a little finessing to get them to understand that we're not going to be telling our personal life stories, and we don't need to bring out the box of tissues, you know, I mean, unless that's where you're going with it. But, you know, it's, it can take some finessing in that conversation. And the people who are relationally minded, like I am, are like sold, bought in pretty quickly. People who, I'll just say that. That's pretty much where it is.
And it can be hard to shift that perspective and have people be open to a different way of developing team, rather than just the way that we've been told to develop your team, is that you have a meeting, you talk about a movement, you critique each other's movement, you give feedback, coaching, evaluation, or we all go out for lunch or beers or whatever. But there's other ways to develop that communication, that connection between the team, that don't have to be so, you know, structured and focused around the what and the thing.
Right.
Yeah. Rather, we can have deeper conversations, and it's okay. And it doesn't have to be about, you know, your childhood pet that you're still traumatized by and all that sort of stuff. If it gets there, but it's really about like, this is why I coach. This is what matters to me. This is what gets me in the feels when this happens in the gym, or this happens as a coach, and someone else can go, oh yeah, me too. Or I struggle with this, or this sort of person. And that's where our power of growth is. So I think that's phenomenal, in giving people who are open to it a different perspective. And I hope that through listening to this, some of our audience will go, oh, maybe that's what we need as well. Like, you know, it's just a different way of thinking about it. Cool. And I'll post all your links in the show notes. That's for sure.
Oh, okay.
But as we look to put a pin in this episode, because I've loved talking to you about what you do and the challenges of being in a field of one, and your perspective on, you know, why something like this is so important. You already gave a piece of advice to a coach or someone who's out there who's thinking about doing something or starting something. Just do it.
Just do it.
You just do it. But if you could talk to a coach who's just starting on their journey, even an earlier version of you, you know, and sit back down, what's something that you know, think would be the most important conversation you could have with them to help them not get stuck and to move forward?
I did two things. One is I specifically found coaching development that initially was a part of like my why and what I care about. So the Bird Box course was one of the first coaching development courses I took, for example, because I love people and I like that part of it. So Um, and so that would be my first bit of advice, like to say to do that. And then the other thing is that I very carefully selected coaches and individuals that I spoke to and surrounded myself with, that I could be vulnerable with, and tell them my coaching wins and my mishaps, and to get some honest, careful feedback to help me grow. So carefully select those people, I would say. So
Yeah. And I think it's, something you said there is really important is, to celebrate your wins with, because
mhm.
we often seek out people to give us feedback to help us grow, which is powerful. But also, particularly, where you are in a field of one, like you might crush something. It's like, I'm just going to high five myself over here. Like, good job. Like, it's important to celebrate the wins so you don't always feel like you're fighting. But sometimes you can be isolated in where it's hard, but you can also be isolated when things are going well. It's like, who's giving me the pat on the back? So I think having that tribe that will also celebrate you when you need it that's a really powerful thing to have as well, and to seek out, not just seek out people to tell you where you could be better, because you're just in that eternal feedback loop. You're like, I just never get a win. Whereas
No,
you are getting the W's, but just not being able to stop and reflect. And I think we could all do better at reflecting on our wins. And I think that's something really powerful we do as part of our coaching relationship in Fit Affiliate. All of our clients submit to their coach a check-in, which is, what do you think you did phenomenally this week? So we ask for the lessons and the challenges, and, what was your biggest win? And, your coach will recognize that. What did you do phenomenally? So even if your week has felt like it's a dumpster fire, there is always something in the week, even if it's like, you know what, I still kept fighting, I still kept doing the thing, and I held my course despite, the fires around me. Great. That's something to be recognized, rather than just throwing all the toys out of the cot and going, I'm out, I'm done, this is too hard.
right.
So I think, that's something that sets us apart, but it's also a really important part of the feedback journey that gets overlooked. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're an affiliate owner evaluating your staff, you've got your tick and flick sheet, but look for an opportunity to celebrate a win, because that's what we as humans, we need to feel like we are at least progressing. Even if I've got this stuff to work on, but what's, the win out of this? What did I do really well?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I share one powerful moment I had related to that?
I absolutely want you to. That's where I was taking you
Okay.
to. I knew you would
I
have
have
one somewhere.
Well, it wasn't from Fit2Lead. Sorry.
That's
It
okay.
wasn't from Fit2Lead. It was with my owners. So owners,
Yeah.
coaches, managers, head coaches hear this. I had recently started I was like, I don't know, I think it was my first solo class at my current affiliate. And my owner texted me, was like, how'd it go this morning? And I text him back about all the things I could have done better. And his response was, but did you have fun? And I was like, oh my gosh. And in that moment, it really, I mean, like he didn't even comment at all on all the things I thought I could have done better. That was
Yeah.
his one response, was, but did you have fun? And
Mm.
it really shifted my mindset as a coach. And it was really empowering, to be honest. And he still, with all his coaches, he checks in on us after our classes. How'd it go today? Like, did you have fun? How, and it was really powerful. So anyway.
And that is powerful, and such an
Yeah.
important question. It's about that. Did you enjoy yourself? Because if, as a coach, you're not enjoying yourself on the floor, then fairly certain your members aren't enjoying the class either. So
Right.
it's a really good thing that he's latched onto there. I think that's super cool. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It is.
All right, my friend. I'm super pumped that I finally got you on the podcast.
I know.
And, seeing your journey evolve through, getting to, see from the sidelines through Fit Affiliate what you're achieving, but seeing what you're putting out there on the socials and what you're managing to achieve and the goals you're kicking. We're super proud of you and super grateful for you. And I know that your story is going to inspire other coaches to either start something, move on something, or have a slightly different perspective. So I think that's the power of your story. So thank you for your time. And I know we're going to definitely get you back for another chat.
Okay.
I know the host. I can line it up.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa.